Genji has received the biggest buff in Overwatch history any character has ever received. All right, guys, welcome to the channel. So what we're going to do in this video is break down everything on the Overwatch Experimental Patch. I'm just going to review this. I'm going to go into detail on what it means for each of the heroes. So the first one we're going to talk about is this huge Genji buff. He has got 1 extra damage per shuriken. Yeah, he's also got a nerf to his ultimate, but we'll go into detail on that in a second. What you're seeing here is Genji on live. You're seeing me firing 3 shurikens into the head of Hanzo, who has got 200 HP, and then meleeing him. It isn't enough to kill him. 3 in the head, melee. It's not enough to kill him. On Experimental, it is enough to kill him. And that's massive. So this is what the devs say. The shuriken damage increase doesn't sound like a lot, but it crosses a threshold or breakpoint against some enemy targets, enabling them to be eliminated with 1 less attack landed. To help balance out this increased power for his primary weapon, we're reducing the damage of the Dragon Blade ultimate, which also is a breakpoint against some targets when being damage boosted. Alright, so then what we're looking at is obviously the shuriken change, 1 extra damage, but in Dragon Blade, damage has been reduced from 120 to 110. Now, I'm not going to go into detail here on the figures and what this means when you're nano boosted or when you're getting mercy damage boosted and what it means on various targets for your Dragon Blade, because I don't think none of that matters, because what this is Blizzard once again trying to rebalance the power of Genji away from Dragon Blade, because Genji in the past has notoriously been a bit of a Dragon Blade bot. All you're doing is throwing shurikens around, trying to charge your ultimate, then you want the nano off your Ana, and in you go. And then hopefully you get a bunch of kills and you win the team fight. If you don't, then unlucky, you're not doing anything. And this is a problem that Genji has got. This is why he can fall off in the meta, because he's not effective enough in those moment-to-moment gameplay segments in between actually having your ultimate available. So this is huge. This means Genji now is doing more damage, he's more lethal before he gets his ultimate, and his ultimate gets a little bit of a nerf to offset this extra damage. I think this is actually a really good change for Genji. Memes aside, of course. Alright, let's talk about Doomfist. Now, when Doomfist pops his ultimate, the cooldown of all of his abilities is increased by... Oh, sorry, speeds up. I shouldn't say increase. That means that would be longer. Basically, it speeds up by 100%. It means when you pop your Meteor Strike, as I'm about to do now, I've used all my abilities. I've popped Meteor Strike. I'm going to come straight back down. I've got all my abilities ready to go again. This is really good for Doomfist, because Doomfist is in a bit of a difficult position at the moment. There's a lot of easy ways to counter Doomfist. Sure, Doomfist can wreak havoc on your team if you just ignore him and go, whatever, kill my team. But if your team focus him, he'll basically die. Or if you pick a McCree, he'll basically die. It's difficult for Doomfist to get value. So this change is really good for Doomfist, and I like it. Also, you can say that, well, maybe D.Va's kind of got a better ultimate. In fact, D.Va's got maybe 2 ultimates now, but when she calls mech, it's kind of better than Doomfist's Meteor Strike, in a way. It's not anymore. It's definitely much better for Doomfist. It's a nice buff. I think it's about time Doomfist got buffed. Okay, let's talk about Wrecking Ball. So Wrecking Ball gets nerfed and buffed, and it's interesting. So Grappling Claw now begins on cooldown after respawning. What that means is you don't immediately have it available when you spawn, which means it takes longer for you to roll out to get back to the fight, which means you can't stall fights as easy as you could before, especially on like 2 CP or something. Yeah. The next up we've got is Adaptive Shield. So cast time has been reduced from 0.2 seconds to 0.1, and the duration has been increased by 7 to 9. We'll talk about that in a second. Because first I want to show you this. Yeah. When you use your mines, they no longer stick to surfaces. Now, I think everybody showed this off on Ilios, but basically, yeah, they won't get stuck. I know some of them got stuck there. That's just because there's kind of like a ledge there and they did get stuck, but they will fall down. This is kind of nice. It means that your mines just won't get stuck in doorways and stuff. But going back to the Adaptive Shield change, yeah, it means that you've got a little bit more time now to make a decision, because the duration is increased from 7 to 9 seconds and the cast time has been reduced. So it's just a more effective ability. All right, let's talk about Soldier. Now, you guys know, just a bit of a disclaimer here at the start of this, I do like Soldier 76, and I am about to say that Soldier 76 is probably going to get really damn good. And yeah, let's get stuck into this. So this is what the developers have done. They've given him 1 extra damage per shot. Now, again, it's like Genji. It's 1 extra damage. You just... nice rocket there. It's like, what does this mean? It's only 1 extra damage. Is it a lot? It is actually a lot, because I think the way to look at this is dead simple. 10 shots from Soldier will do 200 damage and kill that target. You would need to do more than 10 shots to kill that target in the past. This is great. It's just more damage, but it's a lot more damage to Soldier just because of the sheer volume of fire. Now, what's interesting here is the developers say the damage per shot for the heavy pulse rifle has been adjusted several times now, and it's an important tuning breakpoint for Soldier 76. It was last reduced when his weapon spread was replaced by recoil to help account for the increased accuracy potential. Though with recent reductions to his damage fall-off at long range, it's reasonable to increase his damage output once again while pulling some power out of his area of effect healing utility. And what they've done is they've nerfed biotic field from 40 to 35 healing per second. What's crucial here is the old, or it's not really old, but the last, it's not really the last, it's the hit scan nerfs, where all of the hit scans got nerfed with their damage fall-off range. This affected Soldier, it affected every hit scan, but what they're doing here is giving Soldier a lot more damage potential in that sort of mid-range hit scan range, where Soldier has typically been quite good at. And his ultimate as well, don't forget, that was recently buffed as well, which essentially means that it has no damage fall-off, so it's basically doing great damage for Soldier, which is it's ridiculous. Soldier's ridiculous, and I just think we're going to go into a phase here of the game where maybe we're going to see a bunch of Soldier, because suddenly you've got a lot more kill potential. One of the issues with Soldier has always been time to kill. When you look at Soldier, you look at McCree, you look at Ashe, Soldier's always struggle compared to those heroes because he's not able to effectively secure kills. Yes, he might do a lot of damage, but is it effective damage? Is it damage that leads to kills? Is it damage that changes the flow of a fight? You can argue a lot of the time it isn't. It's just consistent damage, and that's great. It can actually work quite well, but it's not that kill potential. It's not like McCree kills somebody, Ashe kills somebody. The good example of this is when you go looking at fighting a Pharah, especially a pharmacy combo. If you're playing Soldier, it's generally a little bit harder to kill that target than it is if you're an Ashe and you maybe land a bunch of headshots, or you're a McCree. Always harder for Soldier, but now it's actually going to be a little bit easier for Soldier, provided they're within his damage range and are not outside of his damage fall-off range. So I do think what we could see here is a pretty drastic increase in Soldier's power level. He may even, now, okay, take this with a pinch of salt, but he may even become the strongest hit scan, and he may even start getting used a bunch in the game. Remember, of course, we are looking at buffs at Doomfist, and we're looking at buffs for Genji, but I just think Soldier, I don't know, like, this could be a bit of a sleeper selection now. But like I said, I am a die-hard Soldier fanboy, so I am going to sit here and go, oh yes, I think he's the best thing since sliced bread, because I don't know, I just enjoy playing Soldier. I always have done. Before we jump on to Moira, that sounds great, we're going to actually talk about Roadhog very briefly. So Roadhog gets a buff. This is kind of like an Overwatch 2 change. So now passively grants 25% less ultimate charge, and that does exactly what it says on the tin. You will get less ult charge when you shoot Roadhog. And the devs are just saying that's, hey, because Roadhog tanks with his body, so we want to make his body less, well, nice to shoot because it doesn't give you as much ultimate charge, and that's great. That's basically all there is to talk about Roadhog. This is, I think, is just a precursor to Overwatch 2. We know there's going to be knockback resistance and all kinds of stuff added to the tanks. It makes sense because this is how Roadhog tanks, right? But honestly, if you ask me, is Roadhog really a tank? I don't think so. Roadhog is more of, well, he's more of just a solo DPS, right? But yeah, maybe he needs more changes to be a tank. I don't know. Does he even need changing? Who even knows? Anyway, let's go and talk about Moira, because this is the one that I'm looking forward to talking about. So much like Soldier 76, I do actually really enjoy playing Moira. So again, maybe I'm about to stand there and go, oh yeah, Moira's great. Yeah, love it, love it. But I think there's some interesting things to discuss here, especially the way Moira affects all different levels of the game. And maybe Blizzard are actually spending too much time balancing the game for the highest level. Like, there is, you know, there's that big elephant in the room of, like, does Blizzard just balance for Overwatch League? Are they just balancing for the top 500s? Sometimes it feels like they might be. I don't know. Anyway, let's take a look at this. And I think even Jeff in the past, obviously Jeff's no longer part of the team, so it doesn't really matter what Jeff said in the past, but he did say in the past that they did generally balance around the higher end of the game. Anyway, let's take a look at this Moira change. So Moira has recently been underperforming a little bit, and I'm not really sure where they've got this information from. Right, now surely they're looking at their stats, but I don't know. Like, Moira's always seemed like a solid pick to me. Anyway, this increase to her self-healing with Biotic Grasp will help improve her survivability while in range to recharge her healing resources. So Biotic Grasp self-healing increased from 20 to 24 health per second. Now, why is that actually worth talking about? And why do I think this is actually a bit mental? I reckon what's gone on here is Blizzard are looking at the high-end stats for Moira and going, well, no one's playing Moira in GM. No one's really playing Moira in High Master. No one's really playing Moira in Master. then maybe people ain't playing Moira in Diamond. So she's useless. We don't really know what's going on. Let's give her a buff. I don't think that's the way to look at this, if that's what Blizzard are doing. It's really weird. Think about how good Moira is at almost every level of the game, with the exception of the very highest level of the game. And what is Moira? Like, you try and counter Moira, even with a Genji, right? Genji's got to land an absolute load of shurikens on you to even have a chance. Moira is very good at dealing with them. You need to be, like, literally one of the best Genjis to pull that off. Same for Tracer. You'd have to be an amazingly good Tracer to take on Moira 1v1. You'd have to go in and literally, like, one clip her in the head, do tons of damage, and take her out. It's going to be super difficult, right? Much easier to smash up the spawn, obviously. Yeah, but it's going to be super difficult to do that, right? This is where I get really confused with some of these changes, or especially this change, because I just think this is just making Moira stronger. And I don't even think Moira really needed it. Like, I think Moira was okay. You've got to remember with Moira, she's one of those heroes where... This is probably the reason why I like playing her, and probably the reason why I like playing Soldier as well, is you can do a lot, like a lot, by just doing stuff. So... throwing balls at the enemy, healing your team, just playing with like a bit of a brain cell. I can actually do stuff. Same with Soldier, right? I could just stand in the team, firing at the enemy team. I'm like, you know, maybe I'm not prioritizing the right targets, but I'm pumping out loads of damage. I'm doing stuff. Whereas if I'm Widow and I'm missing all my shots, well, nothing's happening. Or I'm McCree and I'm missing my shots, nothing's happening, right? So, I don't know. Like, I just feel like Moira... I really honestly... I'm really confused why they've done this. They've just buffed it. They've basically just buffed a lifesteal. So she's going to be harder to kill. She's going to be harder to solo. If you try and take her out on the flank, if you try and hit her with your Genji, you try and hit her with your Tracer, she's just got more survivability. And it's, again, a little bit of a weird one. But this maybe is a wider debate of what is Blizzard doing when it comes to game balance with Overwatch. Now, of course, there's been a lot of things going on in the world of Blizzard recently, and we do know we are supposed to be getting a deathmatch map. Obviously, I don't think people really care too much. It's like, hey, another deathmatch map. But at least it's something, I suppose. But what we do still keep getting is balance updates. And the question is, how often will we get these in the future? And are these actually interesting enough to keep us sort of invested in Overwatch? Because honestly, when I look at these changes, I think to myself, you know what? I want to play Soldier, right? So I actually do want to play more Overwatch. And I think most people are like that. If your hero gets buffed, you kind of want to check it out. If it gets nerfed, well, that's not particularly great, is it? And then this goes into another wider debate about the whole history of balance when it comes to Overwatch, and the way Blizzard have been all over the place with balance, making radical changes, going back on the changes. Soldier, again, is a good example of this, and so is Genji. They buff them, they nerf them, they nerf them, they buff them, they revert, they go back, they do this, they do that. It's like, what is the long-term plan for game balance sometimes? It beggars belief sometimes when they make changes, then revert them and then bring them back in. It's all very all over the place. It's like a yo-yo sometimes. I just hope this isn't the case when we end up getting Overwatch 2. I don't know what's going on in this game, by the way. I'm watching this back and I'm just like, I have no idea. Oh, I remember this, yeah. Yeah, well, this is stupid, this bit. Look at this. This keeps me alive. Like, I would have died there. I would have died if I didn't have the buff. Like, why did I need the buff, Blizz? Why did I need the buff? Why did I need the buff? All right, guys. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Do let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below, especially if you main these heroes. Do let me know, because I will be very interested to see what you think. And, yeah, I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. In fact, I guess we can just watch this to the end. We've got literally 3% left to go. I think that's it, actually. Surely that's it. There's no way they can contest this. Yeah, there we go. Catch you guys in the next one. Toodaloo.